was singing, he said, I don't want to know where would I be if it had not been for the Lord on my side. As I come to the pulpit, I realize I really don't want to know either where things would be if it had not been for the Lord. Amen. You ought to stop and think about that for just a moment. Where would you be? Good God. Maybe we can get another shout in the room if somebody thought about where you really would be if God hadn't watched over you. Watch this. Where would you be if God hadn't been there in your teenage years to keep an eye on you, to make sure all the stuff that should have befallen you did not overtake you? Where would you be if God had not been there in your 20s and 30s when you had more strength than you had sense? Where would you be if God had not been there in your 30s and 40s when you thought you had the world by the tail but didn't realize it was your tail that was stuck in the door? Where would you be if it had not been for the Lord in your 50s and 60s as your health was starting to decline and your steps were getting shorter and your eyesight was getting dimmer and you were beginning to worry about whether or not you were going to make it safely? Where would you be in your 70s and 80s if God had not watched over you every night while you slept and made sure that you had exactly what you needed and your heart beat exactly the way it needed? Where would you be if God had not been there in your 90s and 100 in those declining times when everything began to slow down and you had to depend on somebody else to take care of you? Where would you be if it had not been for the Lord not just watching over you from on high? Where would you be if it had not been for the Lord not just sitting in some detached space away from you, but if he had not been right by your, good God Almighty, I don't know, I'm going to have to preach this thing. If he had not been just right by your, good God Almighty, he was close enough to know every time you were about to get in trouble. He was close enough to know even before you made the step that would have ended things. He was close enough to see you were about to mess it all up, but he was right by your, it was him tugging at your arm to pull you back just a little bit. It was him that was touching the back, touching the back of your head to make you realize something about this situation just is not. I wonder if there's anybody here in the room who'll tell the truth. I really don't want to know where I'd be. Probably behind bars. Somebody in the room really don't want to know where I'd be. Probably broke and destitute. I really don't want to know where would I be. Having a whole trail of mistakes following behind. Somebody really don't want to know where I would be. Unemployed and homeless. Somebody really don't want to know where I would be. In a hospital, a nursing home, hooked up to tubes everywhere. Somebody really don't want to know. Where would I be? On a hill in Crown. Come on, sir. If it had not been, good God Almighty, even when I was on mountains high, if it had not been, even when everything was clicking, if it had not been, even when everybody was singing my praise, if it had not been, even when everybody was patting me on the back, if it had not been, even when all of my money was stacking higher and higher, if it had not been, if it had not been for the Lord, not just on my side, but watch this, covering me. If it had not been for the Lord who loved me enough to hold me down, if it had not been for the Lord who loved me enough to see beyond my attitude, if it had not been for the Lord who loved me enough to catch me thank God. Oh, good God Almighty. I thank God that He kept my enemies away. And every morning He made the sun shine. And when I got down, He rocked me in the cradle of His arms. When I lost my mind, He grabbed a hold of me. Take your time, son, He whispered in my ear. Slow down, son, He whispered in my ear. Think again, son, He whispered in my ear. Take another good look at it, son, He whispered in my. Try another direction, son, He would whisper in the midnight hour. When I thought I had it all the way I wanted it to be. Good God Almighty. He watched over, and where would I be? Angie, if it had not been, where would I? If it had not been for the Lord on my side. There's some enemies who tried to destroy me. There's some folks who thought they had me. There's some people who thought they had destroyed me. What they didn't know is I had a friend. A friend named Jesus, who would let them knock me around, but not knock me out. I had a friend named Jesus, who would let them knock me down, but wouldn't let them keep me out. I had a friend named Jesus, who would allow them to buffet me, but not destroy me. I had a friend named Jesus, who would be there right on time. They thought they could kill me. Jesus slid in between us, and they thought they would destroy. Jesus stepped over in my way when I needed Him the most. Good God Almighty, y'all don't know like I know. If it had not been, I've been in some situations where if it had not been, I've been in some places where if it had not been, I've hung around some folk where if it had not been, I've been in some circumstances where if it had not been, I've been sitting in the doctor's office where if it had not been, I've been in the courtroom where if it had not been for the Lord on my side, where would I be? Y'all don't know. Like I know, can't nobody tell my story but me, but I also know can't nobody tell your story but you. How many of you know God has taken care of you? How many of you know He's watched over you? How many know He's made a way? Don't fool me. Don't fool me here. How many of you know in this new year that you only got through 2017 because God had been on your side? I heard a whole lot of foolish people who were talking about 7 is the number of perfection. 7 gonna be a great year. We're gonna have an outstanding year. And then I heard them same individuals complaining in January and February and March about the trouble they were going through. And I sit back quietly, Sister Jody, and laugh within myself because I said I wanted to go to him and say, I thought you said 7 was gonna be an awesome year. Maybe it's because you didn't know what God had in store. Maybe it's because you don't know what God is working on. Then at the end of the year, watch this, Brother Mark, I heard where my tablet go? I heard some folks say, watch this, that 8 is the year of grace. And I said to one of them, wait a minute, baby, I don't know about 8 being grace, but I know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all of them been grace for me. Because if it had not been for the Lord, surely goodness and, that's grace, y'all, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me. Watch it, all the day. Not by some date on the calendar. All the day. Not because it flipped from one year to the next. All the day. Not because it changed from one season to another. All the days. Surely goodness and mercy.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
They follow behind me.
Come on, sir. Come on.
And watch this sermon, watch it. The only reason they follow behind me is because Jesus is beside me. Good God, I need to tell y'all this, Sonia, because you need to understand, you don't get grace and mercy to follow you if you're not willing to let Jesus walk with you. That's a benefit you only get if you're willing to admit you need the Lord on your... Grace and mercy will follow you if you're willing to admit you can't do this by yourself. Grace and mercy will follow you if you're willing to admit you need some help along the way. Grace and mercy will follow you as long as you're willing to set your own pride aside and say, God, I need thee every hour. Come stand. Come stand by my side.
Yes, sir.
If it had not been for the Lord Almighty, good God Almighty. Do y'all understand the words of the song? If it had not, it's really a confession.
Yes, sir.
Let's say somebody. And part of the problem is we are not willing to confess. It's about to get quiet now. What's it? See, because in order for you to confess, you first have to admit that you messed up your... You have to admit you don't know as much as you think you know. You have to admit you don't have as much strength as you say you got. You have to admit you're not as strong as you want everybody to believe. You have to admit that you too find yourself in trouble. You have to admit that even you, with everything on the outside, looking as if you got it all together on the inside. Anybody else in here know some folk that on the outside look so strong, but on the inside they so scared?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Come on, sir.
I can't get no help, sister. What's this, sister? On the inside, many of us are so fearful that tomorrow everything may shift.
Wow.
That tomorrow the cover might get pulled off.
Come on, sir. Stay there.
And once the cover comes back, everybody gonna see us as we TIEs. There's some of us that like to give off the air that we are complete within ourselves. But some of us have been through enough to know ain't nothing wrong with confessing that I need the Lord on my side. There's nothing wrong with confessing I wouldn't be where I am if it hadn't been for the Lord. There's nothing wrong with confessing that in my darkest hour, in my brightest day, in my weakest moment, when I think I'm strong, when I think I've got it all together, I still need thee every hour. God. The songwriter understood whether I'm on a mountain high or in the valley low, I still need thee. And here's the piece. Watch this. And the Lord said, I got you.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
And the Lord shows up, Sister Gloria, and says, I got you. And the Lord comes and scoops up right by your side and leans over and whispers in your ear, I got you. Why does he whisper? Why does he say it so quietly, Reverend? Why don't he announce it loudly? Because he don't need everybody else to know you ain't by yourself. Good God. He don't need everybody else to know you got some backup. He don't want everybody else to know you ain't out here by yourself. He don't need everybody else to that you are not alone. He wants your enemies to go ahead and try something, because whatever they try to hurt you with, He's going to turn around and use it for your good. He's going to lift you because of it. He's going to set you up for victory because of it. He's going to take their evil and turn it around and make it good. He's going to take and make your enemies your footstool. Your enemies will promote you, and they don't like you. Your enemies will help you, and they can't stand you. Your enemies will get you out of their way, out of their hair, by moving you forward, because they don't want you in the space they in. And they think they got rid of you. They don't know that God actually used them. Think about that. Think about it. That's why He whispers, I got you. I'm going to be right here with you. I'm never going to leave you nor forsake you. Here's what I need you to do. I need you to walk confidently. I need you to walk knowing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I need you to keep pressing on the upward way. Gain some new heights day by day. Why? Because I got you. I need you to never give up. Why? Because I got you. I need you never to sit down and say, I can't do this. Why? Because I got you. I need you not to let the devil convince you you're not worth anything. Why? Because I got you. I need you to be able to say to yourself in the mirror every single day, I am somebody. Why? Because Jesus said, I got you. If it hadn't been for the Lord on my, who started this? Where would I be? Where would I? Can y'all help me just a minute? Think back. Some of y'all got to go a ways back. Some of y'all only got to go back to last week, last month. Come on, tell the truth and shame the devil. Think about it with me for just a moment. In that moment, no matter how fleeting it was, when your confidence began to fail, in that moment, when depression began to wash over you, in that moment, when defeat seemed like it was going to win, in that moment when you've been down one time, and you've been down 2 times, and now you find yourself drowning.
Come on, son. Come on.
In that moment when they walked out on you, in that moment when they said you weren't worth a dime, that time when they told you you were never going to be worth nothing, that you were a nobody. Think back to that moment when it seemed as if the devil had won, and you were never going to find someone to be in a relationship with you that would love you like you love them. Think back to that moment when you felt as if you were never going to climb out of the hole financially you dug for yourself. Think back. Now, watch this. Now that you're back there, look ahead. Pastor, I didn't want to go all the way back there. I know you didn't. But I need you to go back there because I need you to now look ahead. Not from where you were today, but from where you were back then. Now look ahead. Look ahead and see how far God has brought you. Look ahead and see what He's done for you. Look ahead and see the victories He won. Look ahead and see how many times He stood you up anyhow. Look ahead and see how many times He brought you victory after victory. Look ahead and see how many times He performed miracles in your life. Look ahead and see how many times he showed up in your darkest hour. Look ahead and see how many times he brought something out of nothing. Look ahead and see how many times he opened doors you didn't even realize were there. Look ahead and see how many times he made a way for you out of nowhere. Look ahead and see how many times he provided when it looked like you were done and over. Look ahead. And when you catch back up to where you are now, don't forget every now and then, glance up in the rearview mirror and just give God some praise. Glance up in the rearview mirror and go ahead and shout. Glance up in the rearview mirror and go ahead and praise the Lord. Glance up in the rearview mirror and wave your hand. Go ahead and glance up in the rearview mirror and say to yourself, as the song said, if it had not been for the Lord on my side, where would I? I'd have been in a ditch somewhere on the road of life if it had not been. I'd ran over in a pond somewhere if it had not been. I'd ran into a tree if it had not been. I'd have not been where I am now if it had not been. I'd have ran out of gas back there if it had not been. My car would have broke down if it had not been. But I made it through in the vehicle called life because the Lord has been on my side. Come on, give God some praise. Come on, shout hallelujah. It's a brand new year. Come on, shout hallelujah. Come on, give God some praise. Come on, tell God thank you. Come on, tell God thank you. Come on, just give him some praise and praise. Come on, give him some praise and praise. Come on, let the Lord know you're grateful. Come on, tell God if it hadn't been for you. Glory to God. I'm going to save that sermon for next week. Hallelujah. Thank you, choir. Thank you, dancers. Thank you, members, for allowing the Spirit of God to move in this place today. Amen. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. I'm going to find out who stole my tablet. I was going to preach that thing. Hallelujah. Sometimes you just have to let the Lord have his way. Amen. Now I always try to remember because it's a new year. And I know some of you all are still in that mode of making resolutions. I don't want you to come down and join the church because you made a resolution to do so. I want you to come and accept Christ because you know you need him. Christ ought not be a resolution that comes out of your mouth. He ought to be a commitment that comes out of your heart. Saying I'm going to be closer to the Lord is not something you do at the beginning of the year. It's something that your heart transforms into you over the course of your living. It's something that you do not because the calendar changed, but because you changed. Amen. So this morning we open the doors of the church, not to New Zion, but to the family of God. It really doesn't matter whether you want to join New Zion or not. The question is, do you want to be a part of the family of God? Because New Zion can't get you to heaven. It'll fill you with some praise. It'll make you feel good on Sunday morning, but it can't get you to heaven. You need a relationship with Jesus for that. Amen? So as we stand, the doors of